Okay, so guys, I just want to hop right in it. I want to respect your time, and I also want to just get to the meat of things. So I want to start talking about. I want to take it back to the beginning, and I want you to tell me about how your life has changed when you first found out you're becoming a father. When you got that news, like, "Hey, I'm late." So I'm gonna start with Wilkes, and then I'm gonna pass it to Terrence. So Wilkes, how did your life change when you first found out you were gonna be a dad?
Um, and the short answer would be in every way possibly imaginable.
Okay.
I don't think there's a single thing that didn't change when I found out I was going to be a
Wow.
dad.
Is
So
there anything? I'm
the
sorry.
the one thing, sorry, I'm gonna have to keep touching my phone because I'm an idiot and I forgot to plug it up and it's got 20%. It keeps
My
going
goodness.
black on me. He did the same thing. But the main thing I found um, that changed the way that I am as a person, not necessarily as the world is around me or how I see things. That's like the go-to answer is people's like, oh, it's so magical and it made me see everything in the world a different way, and like all those things are true. But the thing that impacted me the most is it made me look at myself a different way, because I would make decisions based off of what was good for me or what was good for my wife or what was good for my family in general. And then once I found out I was having a daughter,
Mm.
it became more about what's good for me, what's good for my wife, what's good for my daughter. But also, when my daughter sees this decision that I made playing out in real time, how is that going to affect her when she grows up? So,
Wow.
every decision that I make now is maybe I should do this, but is that going to be something when Lindley's 15 years old, she's going to be like, yeah, the time my dad went on tour for a month is the time that I really got depressed and now I deal with anxiety. Or, that's like, that wasn't a part of my decision making process or the way I
Okay.
live my life until I had a baby.
Woo. Deep. I'm gonna throw the ball to you, T. What was your experience when you found out?
Well, initially when I found out, I was 16.
Hmm.
So I at first I was in disbelief. I mean, I'm in the 11th grade, right? And it's
Wow.
funny stories that was no one really knows outside of my family is that my sister, who's 4 years my senior, she had just gotten pregnant. And so she had already told my parents, and it's just the two of us. So they were already used to the idea of like one of their children uh, being, having a child. So I was like, oh,
Hmm.
well, I got, guess who's next? So,
Me too.
right, right. So, like, easier for me
Hmm.
because already in the consciousness of like that happening, right? And
Wow.
know at 16 how to deal with it. But I think, like Wilk said, there's a certain, for the parents that care, right? There's a certain carrot of responsibility that comes over you that you didn't even know that you had.
Mm.
I remember the day that she was born, I automatically knew that I was responsible for another person, even at 16.
Wow.
Be about having a child, not that I'm advocating it, but the luxury of having a child that young, I didn't care about anything else but her. Right? It wasn't about what school she was going to go to or this and that. All I knew was that I was the poster child of what she would be one day. So it's one of the
Wow.
luxuries you could ever have in your life. And to this day, now that she has a son now, I get to watch her parent, and I'm sure it's a lot because of how I parented. So I'm really
Wow.
just for that.
So both of you guys have a very, very similar answer regarding like impact. Like my decision making will impact my daughter's future and her life and how she views me. That sounds amazing. And I also love the dynamics of the differences. Like you were in high school, Wilkes, you were married, right? You were
I've been
and
married
how
for a year
a
at the
year. How
time.
old were you? Huh?
I'm 36, I think.
You you were 36 when you found out you were having
Or
a baby?
how old was I? No,
Yes.
I was 25.
You're 25. You're 25. So you were also young, but you weren't like, in high school. But The dynamics are very interesting, and wow, it's just really powerful. Wilkes, I wanted to piggyback off something you said because I also want to keep it in the theme of music, and I always found it interesting musicians who travel and musicians who go on tour. Now, I was with you guys in LA, amongst other moms as well, who had their children still back at home. So I want to dive into that because that's really interesting to me and many other people. What is that experience like? Going on tour or gigging or just being miles away from your child? What is the impact on you and what is the impact on your child? We'll start with you, Wilkes.
I think it's different for everybody because I've been in bands with people. Specifically, one of the bands I was in, the lead singer has 3 kids now, and him and his wife and his kids they're not. It's not that they're not impacted by it, but they handle it really well. It's just
Okay.
I guess their personalities are more built for it, but mine is not at all.
Okay.
So
Wait, what do you mean it's not? Explain that.
It was for me when, like, a lot of dads when they go on tour and they FaceTime their daughter from Disney World. It's like, oh, I'm FaceTiming my daughter from Disney World. This is cool. For me, it's like if I pass the Disney World sign, I'm like, I don't want to be here right now because my daughter's at home. This sucks.
Gotcha.
So the one example I can that I tell people that are touring musicians that are going to have kids or have kids and want to be touring musicians is the thing that happened to me that's my most vivid memory in that respect is I was on tour with this band that I was in for 3 years called Disciple. I was the bass player. We were a hard rock band, and we were on this tour called Winter Jam. And in the circle that we ran in, Winter Jam is like you really want to be on Winter Jam. So it's a real big deal. And we were playing at the show. It was the 3rd or 4th show in of a tour, and the average crowds were 40,000 people. Oh. And we were standing outside of an arena out west on the bay of an ocean. And on the side of the arena, there was these giant whales painted on it because there was an aquarium next to the arena. And I was standing outside the tour bus, which is a whole other thing. If you're in a band, you get in a tour bus, you're like, I finally made it out of the van. So I'm standing outside the tour bus, which is a goal, next to the bay on the west coast on tour, which was a goal. I can hear 40,000 people screaming because we're about to go into the arena, which was a lifetime goal. And I look up and see these whales painted on the side of the arena, and all I could think was, I would really much rather be taking Lindley to this aquarium right now.
Oh my God.
And then I was on the stage 5 minutes later in front of 40,000 people thinking, I hate this.
Wow.
I don't want to be here. But half of me was like, I've always wanted to be here, and I do want to be here. And if it wasn't for Lindley, I would be stoked about this. But it just kind of, I don't want to say it ruined the whole moment, but it was a very heavy, hard situation to be in because of the internal conflict that was going on. But that one situation is the gist of how the road was for me, at least when she was young. It'd probably be different now that she's 11, but it was rough.
Thank you for your transparency, because I don't think a lot of people are willing to say that. You know, in terms of like, you're at a place where you've been trying to get for years, and to be like, no, bump this, I want to be with my kids. I feel like it takes a lot of vulnerability to even voice that perspective. And I'm with you. I feel like I would be the same way, which is why I want to hear more of this. I want to hear more of the human side. Like, you're a musician, but you're a human. You're a dad. You know what I mean? And you know, again, our experience on The Voice in LA, I saw, you know, some people crying and some people FaceTiming, but I always wanted to look a little bit deeper into that experience. And, you know, wow, thank you, Wilkes, for sharing that, and giving us that visual. Mr. Cunningham, I would like to pass the same question on to you. How has it impacted you in your child, the road life?
It's a great sort of, it's an attempt at compartmentalization, right? And it's like, I know that I'm this thing, but I also know that I'm a father as well. Like a lot of people don't know. I moved to LA for the first time in 2010, and my daughter was about 11, and I was there for a couple of months. Then her grades started to slip. So her mom,
Mm,
daddy's away, she would slack off a little bit without having me.
wow.
So I moved back, and I made the vow to not move back to LA until she graduated high school, which was in 2016, which is when I moved back to LA, and we got the call to do the show in 2017, right? So
Hmm.
it's always, and I lived in South Africa for a while. I was on tour, and I was going to buy some property there, but I'm like, nope, I can't do it without her being here. You know what I mean? And like, even when I'm here, visiting in DC, I'll get the thing well, she'll be 23 actually next Sunday, and she'll say, "Well, Daddy, are you going back to LA?" And the way that she says it breaks my heart every time. And I'm like,
Wow.
I think so, yeah, because I gotta, I'm doing that so I can better help us. You know what I mean? So it's really hard because even when we were on the show, we were shooting at the studio, and she was supposed to come. Remember when our friends and family came and they flew
Yeah.
everybody.
Hmm.
She couldn't fly when my parents flew out, so NBC was calling her job, but to me it was terrified to fly by herself, so she wouldn't get on the plane. And I was like, sweetheart, please just fly, just come. Daddy really needs you here, blah, 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 blah. But she refused. So she sent me a video saying, Daddy, I'm so proud of you. She came later on when we were doing, I think, the live show. She came.
Okay.
Really, because even Alicia, when I got on the show, Alicia called her on the phone and said,
Wow.
hey, Dad, he made it on the show, blah, 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 blah. So it's an interesting thing because it's what I like to refer to as a private luxury to have a family, right? And
Mm.
it's like things that I hold more dearly than anything else. But we also have the responsibility to be a musician. So it's really sort of a paradox. And if balance is even a thing, which I don't think it necessarily is, sometimes you got to pick one thing over the other thing and make sure you equally water each plant, as it were. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting thing to do. But shouts out to her mom for holding me down, because when I wanted to move to LA, she was like, you know what, do what you got to do, and I'll take the weight of it for now until you get
Right.
back. So that's what happened for me.
Wow. Your daughter lives in DC?
Yeah.
Okay, so that I understand now that her hearing that you might go back to LA is almost like a little PTSD a little bit, like no,
Yeah.
daddy's leaving
Right.
again.
Right.
And now
Right.
you are a grandpa. So you
I,
got two heartbeats in
yeah.
DC at the moment.
I
You
know.
know what's interesting? I'm sorry if you hear the sirens in the background, child. I live in the hood. What's interesting is that when you said, you know, I got to do this for us. I don't see the difference between a musician going to work to support his child and like a chef.
Of course.
Like that's your job. So I understand the dichotomy of like, okay, I gotta take care of my babies, but I also have to support you guys.
Yeah.
So I definitely see the conflict because I have to work. I literally have to work. Unless,
Work.
we're gonna
Yeah.
be shacked up here in this box, in this, this cardboard box. So I definitely see the conflict, and I'm understanding, and I hope that the viewers and the people that will see this later can understand the conflict as well. So speaking of the viewers, I wanted to get you guys to kind of, if you will, offer some type of like advice. So a lot of the students that I work with, um, this is a day and age of music. So a lot of the students that go to your college, they're rappers. The college has a recording studio now, and it's just becoming a little bit like very like music centered. So what advice would you give to any college student watching who um who should kind of learn to balance school life and music life and dad life? And I know that sounds like a lot, but it's the reality because some of these students are dads who are pursuing music and got a hand in a paper. So would you guys have any advice towards that type of balance? I'm not going to call anybody. I'll let you speak on
I'll,
your heart.
my first thing that I would say would be, regardless of what the things are that you are juggling, if you're a dad, that's the only thing that matters.
Mm.
So I'm a musician. I've been a musician my whole life. But if I woke up tomorrow and realized I needed to either be a good dad, not even a great dad, if I just found out I needed to either be a good dad or a successful musician, then I would throw music in the garbage.
No question.
Woo. Pastor Wilkes, huh? Come on and preach and minister on this Sunday, huh? Hallelujah. He said it's going in the trash. Wow,
Yeah.
good. We need to hear that. We need to hear that. What about you, T?
I have to second what Wilk said, because I always say parenting isn't something you do. Parenting is something you are, right? And when you
Mm-hmm.
then it's looking to you to survive. There's a certain level of love and care that I wish a lot of people have the opportunity to experience. And I think nothing but a child, and we both have girls, and it's like, it's nothing when she looks up at you, she couldn't care less about your machismo. She's just like,
Mm.
Daddy, and Daddy, I need that. She's the only person on earth that I'm afraid of. The only person, right?
Wow.
Because what do you think about this? And she'll give it to me a buck, and she'll be 23. But when she was like younger, so like you said, like if I had a choice, I would hang it up,
Mm.
because it's a love. You really can't explain what that feels like, to look at someone and to know that that person is who they are literally because of you, right?
Mm.
And it's like that sort of connection and that sort of intertwining is something that I think only parents know. The parents that care.
Mm.
They only can explain to you, or at least attempt to explain to you what that feels like. So to me, Daddy, I need you to do such and such and such. I've done it before, and I would do it again and again. I'm in DC now because of her. That's the only reason I'm
Mm.
here, because she got pregnant, and I said, well, Daddy's got to come home because I got to be
Wow.
there for you. I can gig later, but right now and always, you're the priority.
Okay. Wow. Your daughter's 23 or turning 23, and your grandson just turned 1, correct?
Yeah, last Wednesday, yeah.
My, oh, he's just, I can't. I won't start. I'll be here for 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Wilt, your daughter is 11. So
Yep.
let me ask you guys a question. So does age play a factor in terms of like your willingness, or not willingness? Does age play a factor in like the availability? Like, you know how you just have a baby and it's like, no, I need to be home. Does it matter that the child is a little more grown up? Do you feel um less like guilty for gigging if they're okay with it? If they're okay with it, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it makes a difference, but it's not like it completely alleviates it.
Mm.
It's when it that thing people say about like when you have a baby and you wake up the next morning, they look like a different person because they're growing so fast. That's a
Yeah.
that's a real thing, and that
Wow.
happens regardless of what age they are. That happens, but that happens
Mm.
crazy town when they're a baby. So I would
Mm-hmm.
leave for 3 days and come home and be like, "What the heck happened to her?" So it's not as extreme as it used to be. But the other side, the other side of that same coin is, back then I would try to read her face when I would come home, and she would be really excited to see me. And
Oh,
part of me would be like, yeah, she's excited to see me. And then the other part
yeah.
of me would be like, it's because I left and she
Oh.
misses me. And then it would make me sad. But now that she's older, she can just tell me those things. So part of it's a little better because she can say, if I say I gotta go to Nashville for 2 days for some writing stuff, and she's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's like cool. I'll FaceTime you. Or
Okay.
she can say, do you really have to go? I really don't want you to leave. And then
Yeah.
it's, she can just straight up tell me now. So in one way it's not as bad because I know, but the other way is
Mm-hmm.
I can't kind of plead the fifth. I can't be like, oh, she's probably fine with it. She's fine with her mama, because she tells me she's not, then she's not.
Mm.
So I have to look her straight in the eyes and be like, I hear you, but I have to go. And in a way
Yeah.
that's worse. So
Wow.
yes and no.
There's a lot of passion in these answers. I'm loving it. And there's a lot of honesty. And you're right. Lily has like literally, like when I first like saw her, when you showed me her on video, she was like in a car seat, like, you know, like and now she's like so big now. But
Yep.
listen, kids will be honest, okay? They'll be honest with you. They won't
Sure.
lie. They're not like your friends, and they ain't no yes men. So
Right.
that's beautiful that you know. And now when it comes to age, I'm going to throw it on to you too, T, because your daughter is older, but then there's now this brand new grandson in your life. So how has that impacted you regarding the same thing?
Well, here's the thing about your children. To me, it will always be this big to me.
Wait, hold on, I can't hear you. Wait, can you say the
Oh,
last
can you hear
part
me now?
over? I'm so sorry. Yes.
Oh,
You said she'll always be this big to
like
you.
yeah, like it doesn't matter how old your children get. Like she will always be this big to me. And so if
Mm-hmm.
she has to, like Wilk said, like she can vocalize and she's an adult. She'll say, "Oh, but Daddy, I don't think it's a good idea," or "Daddy, I support it," or she has a way of
Right.
saying. That's the wonderful thing about just women, and like they'll say one thing, but you know they mean something completely different, right?
Mm.
And so it's like she'll say, "Oh no, I'm fine with it." You're not fine with it. You know what I'm saying? You're just saying to pacify me a bit. But the last time I told her, I was like, I'm thinking about going back to LA, and she was in full support. This is like 2 weeks ago.
Mm.
And like, you know what? You should go back because you know you've been here, and she's a super parent, and so you get to a point in your parenting where you feel like what you've invested, you have to sort of stand on said investment, right? Like you know that you've done a good thing. You've been the best parent that you could muster, and you kind of have faith in that, right? Like you know that you can step away for a little bit, and they'll
Mm.
still be okay. But them getting older is not a factor. She's still this big, and she always will be.
Wow. Ugh, my mom says that to me all the time. Y'all always gonna be little to me. Like,
Yeah,
Mom, I'm 62.
yeah.
Mind you, she's not even 62 yet. Wow. Thank you guys for breaking that down. And I know people probably think I'm crazy. They're like, well, they already said that. Like, the reason why I'm breaking it down is because, like I said, there are people with a 10-year-old child or a 10-month-old child who are looking for answers and looking for inspiration. And I want them to get all of the details from you guys, and the importance of, family over, maybe money or whatever the case may be. And I think that is also important to include your children in your conversations, because some parents make these decisions without having the conversation with their kids because they think they're too young to understand or whatever the case may be. But you may be surprised. Your little 5-year-old might be like, yeah, nah, I need you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So this conversation is really important. So that's why I'm breaking it down in several different ways. All right, I'm gonna ask one more question for you guys, just so for the sake of time. I want to respect your evening. It might be open mic night somewhere, wherever y'all at. I know y'all got a gig. So my last question has to do with inspiration. So as we move on and move forward, as your children and grandchildren, grow up and get older, what is your like goal in life as a musician regarding you being a dad? And what is your inspiration reaching that goal? Is it maybe your faith? Do you have your own personal father that pushes you, or maybe a best friend who's a dad? So the question is twofold. What's your goal and what's your inspiration to get there? I'm going to give it to you first, Wilkes.
All right. My goal is just to get to the end of it and not necessarily myself look back on it and check off all my check boxes, because I have so many things to check off on my checklist that there's no way I'm ever going to do it. So there's no way on my deathbed that I'm going to be happy about it, about what I didn't. again. But I think
Oh no, he froze.
I did.
Mm-mm.
Am I back now?
No, you're back.
Yeah.
You're back. Go ahead.
The
Go ahead.
other, oh, okay. The other thing, or the let me get back on track here. So it's not necessarily about how I'm going to look back on it, but at the end of it all, I'd rather my family and my friends and the people that listen to my music, and of course, most of all, after I die and I meet Jesus for the first time in the flesh, I want all of those people to say, "You did a good job." Like, because I know I'm going to be sitting here thinking like, "No, I didn't do this, and I didn't do this," and
Yeah.
Lindley's going to be like, "I didn't care if you did that." My wife's going to say, "I didn't ever care if you did that." Somebody that was impacted by a song is not going to give a crap if I played in an arena, and hopefully Jesus will say, "You checked all the marks that I had for you." So
Amen.
that's my goal for the end of it all. End of everything is that, and then the other side of that is for me to be okay with that being my goal, because even though it is my goal, sometimes I'm not okay with it. But
Mm-hmm.
my plan for getting there used to be I'm gonna practice and I'm gonna produce and I'm gonna write and I'm gonna do the best I can, because I'm an artist and I have things to say and people need to hear what I have to say, and all
Yeah.
this whatever blah blah blah, which is just a bunch of garbage at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that pushes me now is when I realized a few years into my marriage, when I tried to quit playing music for a while because of my family. I wanted to be home with my family and just do some other job. My wife refused to let me do it, and she
Mm.
literally won't let me quit. She says she wants to be married to the person that she married, not to some sad guy who's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. So
Wow.
now the way that I approach things is more about her and Lindley than anything else. It's more of um, it's really hard to put into words, but it's not as much about trying to be commercially successful anymore. It's about doing things that they'll be proud of and that impacts people. And the commercial side of it, if it is commercially successful, it's so that they can have more of the things that they want. I
Wow.
don't really care about being on a billboard anymore. It's more of, if I had a number one song, I could get that car that Chelsea likes a lot that she can't have
Right.
right now, and I could just buy it for her.
Right.
And if my neighbor needed a car, I could buy him a car too. It's more
Mm.
about other people now than it is myself.
Right.
And I think when that switch flipped the most, one was when I got married, but then after I had Lindley, when I became a dad,
Yeah.
and everything became less about me.
Mm.
That's everything shifted over to them. So I want to basically, when I die, I want to get a well done from Jesus and my wife and my daughter.
Ah,
Is
my
hopefully
heart is
hopefully
melting.
how it plays out.
My heart is melting. And listen, I know these questions are, they're there's so much heart in your answers and there's not enough time to answer them. You know what I mean? Like it's unfair for me to give such a big question that deserves such a bigger answer, but I could feel your heart through this phone, Wilkes. And I mean, from what I got from your answer, it seems like your family and Christ are both the goal and the inspiration all in one. That's what it's sounding like, and that's freaking beautiful. The
Yep.
goal is to hear "job well done" from Christ and from baby girl and from your wife, and they're also your motivation to get you there. So that's beautiful. I feel so bad sometimes I ask these deep questions. I'm like, I know you get, this is your world, so I get it. But that's what I received. That was my takeaway from your response, and it was definitely beautiful. And Mr. T-Man, I'm gonna ask the same thing for you. What is your goal as a musician and dad, and what is your inspiration to get there?
Again, Wilkes and I have been friends for quite a while, and I'm fortunate to say so. There's a saying by Khalil Gibran that says, "To be able to look back upon one's life in satisfaction is to live twice."
Ugh,
Right. So at the very end, I just wanted to be known that I did the best I could. And, you know, my goal, supreme goal, is to leave a legacy for them. So they
Mm,
won't, like Will say, that they will never have another financial worry for generations to come. So
mm-hmm.
fortunate, you know, to God to have been gifted with such a gargantuan talent as all three of us have. And I don't think it's by chance that we've been gifted with this thing. It's like the parable of the talent. Some had, I think it was five, some had three, one had one, but the one that had one buried it. And the Lord was upset because he said, well, why didn't you capitalize on it? Right. And the three
Right.
of us have a lot of talents. And I think it's our responsibility to kind of pay homage to whatever entity gave us said talent. You know what I mean? And so I know that my responsibility is to do the best that I can so I can leave a legacy for my lineage. And that's what it's about. And at the very end, I want to say, I want to kind of leave. I was in a service one time and I want to leave the world empty.
Mm-hmm.
I want to leave the world saying, like, I did it. I wasn't too afraid. I didn't let my ego, I didn't let my insecurity get in the way. I tried it. Some things were dope, some things weren't dope.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I heard the call, and I not only heard the call, but I heeded to said call, right? And so
Amen.
very end. And I want, you know, my family to be proud. I want my grandsons, grandchildren to be like, yo, Papa T was dope because of what he did. We live in this dope ass house. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, so that's the thing, even after I'm gone, is to leave a legacy for my family. And it's as great as a father, because I've met his daughter and she's super duper sweet. Because she came to the hotel one time, we like hung out. It was great. And so
No.
leave that legacy for them. It's really not about us anymore at this point. I know that I've been given this gift and I'm going to work tooth and nail so I can make sure that you don't have to ever worry for anything else in your life. And
Right.
that's what parents do. That's what true fathers and mothers do. You know,
Right.
that's not the greatest luxury of parenting is that you can completely be responsible for somebody else and be okay with it. And
Mm.
it's well, you know, not to pardon the pun, but it's a willful thing, right? To be able to give up yourself to someone else completely.
Woo. Well, as my mama put in the comments just now, y'all are preaching real good. And I appreciate it. Those who will watch this later will appreciate this. Musicians will appreciate this. Christians will appreciate this. Fathers will appreciate this. Moms will appreciate this. And I just want to shout you guys out for being poppin' papas. And also on a personal note, I miss you guys. Can we link
Miss
up? Do I gotta fly out somewhere? I miss you guys. I love you guys
plane
so
emoji
much.
coming
Would you
up.
say?
I keep sending you the plane emojis. I'm on the way.
I'm about to. You play Terrence. I will.
Don't make me
JFK is.
know that I'm jealous, overzealous, because you was killed.
I'm singing like a Christian church. I'm jealous. I'm overzealous. Oh, hallelujah.
Blaze up. You blaze hard.
But no, thank you guys for, I want to say thank you for your participation. It is my goal to inspire students through dope dads that I know of different calibers. And like I said before, this particular segment is super special to me because this is a realm that I am familiar with. I am very biased to music. So all my other dads, y'all was cool. But I'm sorry, T Man and Wilkes, they take the cake, man. And every job is important, but there's something very unique about the jobs that cause you to travel, the jobs that take you away from home. Like these were very important conversations that I wish I had more time to expound on, but I don't. But in the short amount of time, I'm pretty sure that everyone else got what I got, and you guys gave me your heart. I want to shout out my mom. She is about to retire for working 32 years in the police department, NYPD, and she has 4 children. I have a half brother that my mom also takes care, not takes care of, but like she takes him in her arms. So she got 4.5 kids, and she's just the best mom. And just I just want to shout out every parent that just sacrifices, period. Oh, my boss, Quash, is the director of the Men's Center at York College. He is my boss and my friend. He reminds me of you, Terrence, a little bit. He's a big Prince guy. He's Dr. Quash, so he's, you know, Mr. PhD, but he's also a pianist and he's a singer, and he runs the college, and he has handed this program over to me in trust and said, hey, Maya, I want you to, you know, do as you see fit. And I want to say thank you, Quash, for trusting me with your Fatherhood Initiative program. Quash, I'm sorry, Dr. Quash is also a father. His daughter is 21 and she's in college, and he, like you guys, is another musician who I've watched, you know, be a cool dad. And my God, you guys are such huge inspiration. You have no idea. I'm about to go out in the street and find me a man. Yeah. Okay. I think I see one across the street. Let me, hold on. All right. Oh anyway, I love you guys. I love you guys so much. And thank you everybody for watching. T-Man and Jason, I love you so much. And kiss your children and grandchild for me. Okay.
We will.
I hope you have a wonderful night. I'm going to end this live. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Bye, Jason.